Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gavra Racing podcast. You're joined by two Saint 0208, myself,
Me, Tiger Assassin.
Me, X90G.
and welcome to episode 3 of the podcast. It's really well received. We thank you, everyone who's given us questions and commented in the comments down below, obviously. And we are going to press on here with our episode 3 of the podcast. This is going to be quite a Gavra Racing focused one. There's not much really happened in the real world this week, but hopefully you will all like that. And so we are going to hop into the first story, which is about the academy. So Pope and Mares are close in the championship fight in the academy at the moment. In fact, Mares and Pope had quite a bit of a ding-dong battle towards the end of the race after it had been restarted due to the connection issues I believe we had. But from your perspective, like Tiger, I mean, I thought it was a great battle. What about you?
It was an amazing battle, yeah. It was just throughout the whole of that race, both of them fighting for first and second, and it's really what you want to see in a race, like cars fighting for the lead, and the race was kept the race really exciting, kept it fresh, and yeah, and the restart was unfortunate because a lot of drivers missed out compared to what they had done in the first race, compared to what they'd done in the restart. They'd missed out on places. There was different things to do with qualifying, so it was unfortunate. But hey ho, that's kind of what happens, and sometimes there has to be a restart. But those two battled it out really, really well at the end, and Maris came out on top and extended his championship lead.
Yeah, I mean, well, Natty, you are actually like a kind of standing commentator for Evan, who for some reason disconnected during the broadcast, which was a bit odd. Well, and was the battle from your perspective as well?
Oh, it's just it's really fun watching two drivers battling for the way because they both know that they're in it, and like the championship it's just so close at that stage. I think there's an 8-point gap between them before the race started, so it was definitely all to play for, and they obviously didn't want to overdo anything and have an incident with one another. So it was really fun to watch two drivers battle it out for both the lead and the championship.
Yeah, definitely. And with that race just gone now, Mares did win it in the end, so he does now have a 16-point gap back to Pope, who's currently in second, going to the final round, which is this week. In fact, we have the final rounds for more or less all of the F1 leagues, apart from the weekend league, which has just started up. If you want to join that, if you want to race on the weekend, please go to Gavra Racing website and sign up. But yeah, we have more or less all of the F1 leagues coming to an end this week. It's quite a sad time for well for me and X probably more than anyone else. But we still have the GT Sport League running up until the end of this season before season 3 starts back on F1 2020. As I think Geordie FIFA, just come back to the academy race just for a second. Geordie FIFA did get driver of the day, but I was a bit skeptical about that one. Don't know about you, Tiger.
Really sure because Geordie FIFA, what do you mean by it? What exactly are you skeptical about? Was it the incident?
Yeah, it was the incident because I feel like whilst driver of the day is meant to be, recognizing the efforts of the other drivers, like Jolly FIFA he had a good race, but that move on RC8, like the move was never on, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no,
Came
it's
from so far back.
It's interesting, really, because driver of the day it's not really because the drivers don't get anything for driver of the day. Like it's just you're giving the driver like it is in real life. There's a driver of the day. They're they're like the standalone person. That's what people have voted for. But I think it wasn't really. I just picked out a few drivers who I'd noticed that had made a good amount of positions in the race, had done some good overtakes, and and overall just had a solid race. And I chose those people, and I believe quite a few in the comments had voted for him. But it's not my decision to make. I've actually implemented the rule of having driver of the day, so the commentators pick out 3 or 4 different drivers, and then among those 4 drivers, the comment section will then actually vote for that driver. But it's an interesting one, but it's not really on the scale of the championship. It isn't too much, but the incident, yeah, I think I think it was a bad move on Jordi FIFA's part, definitely, and I'm sure. I don't know if did he get a penalty for it?
Yeah, he has received an LLP2 for the next run in Abu
Yeah,
Dhabi.
so
So I believe the stewards came to the correct decision on that one. But speaking of Jordi FIFA, shall we go on to his brother in the freshman league? He finished
let's do it.
P4 in the race, I believe, behind Mahrez, Pope, and Tiger and Slopin. We'll get to Mahrez and Pope in a second. But first, the championship fight. Well, he's head of the standings now with a 19-point gap, I believe it is, going into the last round. So he's sitting pretty for that first freshman league title, the first ever freshman league title. I might add that we've had in Gavra Racing. It's the first time we've had this great level of organization done by Gavra 91. So big props to him. But he did have a terrible qualifying session. He was down in P12. What was quite an underwhelming performance there. I'm sure you'd agree, Natty.
Yeah, I think obviously people have different qualifying and race pace like kind of strategies. Like you see some people trying to start on medium tires sometimes in qualifying, but what qualifying is like, especially at Brazil, it's kind of difficult to invalidate your laps and try and get one clean lap in. So maybe it's Holland Campion's race pace is pretty quicker than his qualifying pace, which is why we saw him fly through the field back up into P4. So it's a good end result from him, starting from where he did qualify. Sorry. So yeah, hopefully we'll see him up there in Abu Dhabi.
Well, yeah, I mean, Natty, your pick for the championship was actually Holland Campion. I think me and Tiger both went with with Lord Jedi looking a bit foolish at the moment, but we'll get on to the title the title permutations later. I have them all up on my screen at the moment. But I think that fight back through the field to P4, that's probably his best drive of the year. I don't know about you, Tiger, if you see the best performance from him, but I'd say that was his best drive of the year.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, it was definitely one of the best performances of the year. It was an interesting race though because there was a lot of stuff involved, but yeah, he managed to overcome it really well, and I definitely would say it was one of his best performances.
I think a driver who didn't have the greatest race is probably Lord Jedi. We'll come to the incident. I know I'm pushing a lot of things saying they're coming later, but I promise they are coming later. So Lord Jedi did have a first lap incident there I saw on the stream when I was commentating. It looked like he just got hit the right rear of the car in front, and that just pitched him around. It's a lot like Ocon and Verstappen, their incident in 2018. I mean, we've seen that a lot at Brazil over the course of the 4 leagues that were racing there this week. But yeah, it's an unfortunate one there for Lord Jedi. And do you think he'll be able to come back from it, Natty?
Yeah, I reckon. Well, I think Abu Dhabi will obviously be an interesting race for both Holland Campion and Lord Jedi. Hopefully, we see them battling at the top for the championship. It all depends. Like if we see them getting maybe a bit too reckless, then it could open up maybe not even a different driver who could win the championship, but an alternate winner to who we maybe thought at the start of the race.
Yeah, I mean, I just explained my side of the incident, but do you have a different one, Tiger? I don't know because it's like from you were watching from your perspective.
It was it was interesting because I think Lord Jedi had the move done, and I believe I believe maybe Holland maybe should have backed off and maybe waited for a bigger gap because it was a small gap on that corner. I've seen there was a ton of overtakes on that corner because as soon as you come down 1 and 2 and then down into turn 3, you're going straight down back into another DRS zone. You've already got that amount of speed coming down that hill. So there was a lot of overtakes on that corner. It was probably the most overtakes out of all the races I've seen in Brazil this week were on that corner. So it was an overtaking position for him, but the gap just wasn't big enough for him to make the move, and he obviously hit into the back of him, and then that's when Lord Jedi spun.
Yeah, so I think we've got a little bit confused, but we'll move on to the incident.
Oh, well, you're talking about something different there.
I'm talking about the first lap incident.
Oh, the first lap incident.
Yeah.
Sorry, the first lap incident was just the first lap incident. Though it's difficult because especially when you've got a lot of cars around you, it's really difficult because some cars can't maneuver in other places. There was people at the back, I know, near people at the back, they went five. There was like five wide into the first corner, so it was quite crazy. The first few corners are always crazy on every circuit, but it's difficult to see among all the cars and who could have maybe moved in a certain places and who could have, maybe given each other a little bit more space, because you've got to be aware of cars behind you, because if you go too slow, then you're clogging up the cars behind you. And if you go too fast or if you go too close to another car, especially on corners like that, it can be difficult. But yeah, sorry, I thought you were talking about Holland Campion and Lord Jedi crash.
Yeah, well, I mean, big spoiler alert for the next topic then, I guess.
Jump the gun a
So,
little bit.
so it's, towards the end of the race, we unfortunately had the two championship rivals come together. Lord Jedi and Holland Campion had an incident down at turn 4. I think Holland Tiger just gave his kind of ruined it by giving
Get Natty's opinion on it. Get Natty's
Yeah,
opinion.
we'll
You've
get
heard mine.
Nat's opinion on it in a sec. We'll get and then from my point of view, I feel like I've taken a different stance to Tiger. I think that Holland Campion should have given Lord Jedi more space. Because if you look at it from when they're coming like straight at the camera and they're side by side, Holland Campion turns into the corner, like for my liking, a bit too early, especially as he would know that the racing point is alongside him, and then they touch and go round. And unfortunately,
Yeah. No, that's what I was
Lord
meaning.
Jedi
Sorry, I
comes off
was meaning
first. Yeah.
as Campion took the corner, he just closed that gap down. That's why I was sorry. I get myself mixed up again. Because it's obviously when he came round the outside, he sort of just closed that gap too much down. I believe he should have maybe have given a bit more space to Jedi, but maybe in the same way, maybe Campion will look at it and say, well, Jedi maybe should have backed off. So
Yeah,
it's interesting. So either way, but from what I'd seen, it was Campion that maybe should have given him a bit more space down that inside.
yeah. I mean, it's more sort of the point that like they both don't need to take that kind of risk, especially if what's on at stake at the moment with two
Definitely,
races
yeah.
to go. You just don't need to be going for those kind of moves. I mean, I guess at the end of the race you want to finish ahead of him, but he still had a 17-point gap at that point in time. That wouldn't have been affected too much by losing one position to Lord Jedi. But we're all racers at the end of the day, and I guess that's what
It's racing.
he decided. Yeah, it's racing. So I mean, we have both given our opinions on to UX Natty.
Oh, I agree with what both you have said. I think when two cars go into a corner side by side, you both have to respect where each other is, and obviously always leave the space, as Fernando Alonso has famously quoted. But yeah, I think if you're on the outside line, and someone's side by side on the inside, you've got to commit to a wider line and allow for the driver side by side because you don't know if he's still going to back out or if he's still going to keep it down the inside and maybe prepare for him to go too deep. Because if you say Lord Jedi on the inside, if he broke later than Holland Campion and Holland Campion still continues to turn in, that could have been a worse crash for both of them. So
Yeah,
I think
but I mean,
it's just down to also to just driving etiquette. Like like all drivers should know, like to just give, if someone's going for a move, just you got to give enough space either way. Like you defend. Yeah, defending is part of racing. But
yeah,
if a driver's alongside you, you cannot just close a gap down. You have to keep space. And it wasn't that Lord Jedi went for a late break, like Daniel Ricciardo style pass.
yeah.
He
They were
was
side by
actually
side.
he was always side by side going down that straight. So it on the turn, really, if Campion was to just to turn in like that, that's not really driving ethic. You really just got to basically have it so you have two different lines going all the way around, and the drivers giving each other enough space.
Yeah, and also just to provide a balanced argument, we're not absolving Lord Jedi like completely of blame here, because earlier on in the race there was some very shady defending going on from the racing
Interesting
point. It
stuff.
was what I saw was Lord Holland Campion had the DRS on Lord Jedi. He went to the inside, and the problem with that move is that Lord Jedi then moved after Holland had committed to that inside line, which that is, for me, that is completely unacceptable, because you're not meant to be making moves like that could result in the driver behind getting significant damage. I mean, I think Xnati, you had a similar problem in the Premier Series from your stream with Alex, who just darted over to the left-hand side before the corner. But so yeah, it is about racing etiquette, and I think when we all go wheel to wheel with each other, we love to battle, but yeah, we just need to keep it clean sometimes. But yeah, moving on, that has actually created a title decider in Abu Dhabi, which will be on Thursday this week, which will be the final F1 race of this present season until we have the Golden
It's going to
Crown
be a
Series,
sad
which
day.
a sad day for us all. But it's not completely over yet. We do still have the Golden Crown Series, which will start in a couple of weeks' time, where drivers from all of the F1 leagues will compete against each other to find which league is the best or has the best drivers. FYI, it's the Premier Series with me and Shankster in. So
FYI, I'm rooting for the freshman.
just a quick shot at the Super League guys. As speaking of the Premier Series, or no, not speaking of the Premier Series anyway, we're going to go more in depth on the Freshman League race, as the virtual safety car did have a massive impact on strategy. I mean, you were in the race, Natty, so how did it affect you?
Well, from my point of view, I thought I was losing time to the cars in front, so I thought I'd change things up. I'd already had or you could say another race on Monday, and the hard tyres worked really well for me in that race. So I thought I'd pit early than the other guys and go into some hard tyres and try the undercut on a few of them, try and stay out in front of the battle that was going on. But then the virtual safety car came out, which allowed everyone in front of me to make almost a free pit stop and gained quite a lot of time with me. So from my point of view, yeah, it's quite unfortunate that the virtual safety car did change up my strategy, but that is part of racing, and yeah, it made it more fun from my point of view, having to work back through the field and make a few overtakes.
Yeah, and Lord Jedi did get very unlucky then. He got held up behind his teammate in the pit stalls, and that cost him a lot of positions, meant that he was kind of easy pickings Holland camping at the end there, which led to the incident as we previously discussed. But finally on the Freshman League, because we know we've done a lot of the Freshman League recently, and it's kind of become a Freshman League podcast, but like we're trying
It's
to
where
cut.
I'm sorry, but it's where the most action happens in the league. It seems to always provide every week with action. It's a crazy league.
I
Crazy.
guess it's just up to the rest of us to to make some more action. But finally though, like Mahrez and Pope, outstanding job by those
Absolutely
two
amazing.
drivers. Outstanding, coming from the academy in their second races in the freshman league from USA. They were both competing there, but to come from that race in such a short window of time, come to the freshman league, and they both bossed it. They were incredible in qualifying. Mars with a 108.5, and you have a racing lap record by about 2/10, knocking off Attengren, who is he's a qualifying beast. Attengren is like, I don't even deny that. Like, he is incredible at qualifying. But to come in and do that on the same track, it's just
It's
incredible. It was it was an amazing thing to watch and to witness, to see Mares just pull away just so easily from everyone else. And yeah.
definitely. But I don't forget as well about Pope as well. He had also had an outstanding race in second. Both those drivers are battling it out in the academy, and I think the academy sometimes is sort of overlooked in a way. Some people think that the academy is just filled with drivers who don't have that skill and don't have the ability because they're in the lowest league. Well, actually, the academy is where fresh people come in, and these people could have an amazing skill, and they're completely brand new to Gavra Racing. So I think that's the case for Mahrez and Pope. There is that both of those drivers do have an amazing skill in the F1 game, and they will think to themselves that they deserve, especially after that race, to be in a higher league. And I'm sure we will see them higher up next season. But if they keep on racing like that in the freshman, and if they go into the Premier and race like that, then they're gonna do some amazing stuff. But if I could quickly go back to the virtual safety car, it obviously it was a big thing in the race. Since everyone was near the end of the lap, they all came in for a pit stop because obviously everyone else is around the track is going slower because of the virtual safety car. But another team that it affected quite a lot was the Mercedes team, which we actually haven't talked about Pepelec at all this week after he got so much coverage in the past weeks. It actually affected a lot the Mercedes team because they both had a strategy in place, and they'd both already done their strategy, and then the safety car came out just after. So it really affected both of them, I believe. I know Pepelec came out of the points. I'm not sure where Joe finished, but it affected the Mercedes team quite a lot. I believe it's Taylor who crashed out near turn 1 who caused the virtual safety car, but. But no, that virtual safety car really affected a lot of people.
Yeah, but I think Pepelec, well, we're going to talk about him a little bit now. Quite a frustrating driver for me because he always manages to pull out some incredible qualifying routes, and it just comes to the race. It's just something's just not clicking there. And then
Quite right.
hit nearly all 7 of his races so far have been recovery drives. So, and he started on pole for a lot of them. He's got double the amount of poles as Lord Jedi, who's second on the pole list. I just checked on the website now, but yeah. So moving on then to the Premier Series, mine and ex-Natties and indeed Tigers race this past week. You were substituting for Checkers. So how did you find your F1 2019 debut on Gavra Racing, Tiger?
It was good. It was good until something happened, but I'll get into that in a second. But I really enjoyed racing. Like I race on F1 casually, and I like outside the leagues. But I came in as commentating because I knew personally I thought that I didn't have the pace as what I've seen other drivers have. But in that race, I did really well. The qualifying wasn't so good because we had a wet qualifying in Brazil. And I had just been getting used to the Premier Series settings, and I completely locked it up. I can't remember. Do you know which corner it was, Toussaint? I don't know the corner number.
Turn 3 or 4?
No, it was towards the end of the track. It was 2 corners before Glock Corner.
Oh,
Turn 8?
Turn 8, yeah.
8, yeah. So I completely locked it up on turn 8 and went straight into the wall in qualifying.
Oh, no.
So I started down in 16th, and then I went from 16th to I believe it was 10th on the first 3 corners, which was I managed to somehow just drive my way all the way through the carnage that happened. I believe there was a collision between, was it Timv and it was Timv and someone else, I believe, in the racing. Oh no, Timv was in the racing point, but it was between Timv and someone else. And there was quite a few drivers got caught up behind the collision, so I managed to go around the outside of it all and got myself up into 10th. Then had a little bit of a battle with Willie Sanker, got myself into 9th. And then after my pit stop that I made for the hards, I got myself up into 8th position. And then around the 20-something lap mark, I lagged out and I couldn't join back. So I was really frustrated, but I managed to get myself up to 8th, and I was looking for 7th because I was gaining on the Zaza. But no, I really enjoyed the race, and I actually would like to do some more next season if I can, try and get myself into at least one of the leagues and see if I can maybe do some racing in there.
Oh, well, we look forward to that. As obviously me and Natty, the seasoned veterans, so I say, of the Premier Series. So I'm sure, Natty, your race is a little bit better.
Yeah, my race was
No
slightly different to Tigers, I'd say. Obviously we had a battle for 3rd place between, I think it was myself, Alex, and Goa. I won 1 shot 2 down as well, and then you and Shanks had your little collisions at turn 1 and 2. So and it then became a 6-way battle for the lead effectively. So that was really entertaining to kind of just sit behind and just watch and just biding my time. And then after the pit stops, like a gap began to form between myself in fifth place and go in fourth. But then it became a game for me not to try and get any corner cutting penalties and try and take advantage of everyone else's penalties, and then finish the race in fourth from a shocking 11th in qualifying. So it was a pretty decent race, but I think that was my best finish of the season, actually, fourth place. So
Yeah, well, good to know from Xanati. That was your joint best finish, I believe, wasn't it, from this year?
oh yeah, I think I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, this podcast is so professional.
Well, we're here to be a bit relaxed.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so I mean, my races are well. We've all got 3 different races, so there you go, variety, everybody. Yeah, my race is a bit different as well. So as Natty just mentioned, I was on pole position in the rain. I was very happy with that. Then had a terrible start. Shanks got past me into turn 1, and then on lap 6, going to lap 7, I tried something around the outside because we want to go for the win. We're here to race and try and win anyway. Unfortunately, we came together at turn 2, which meant that I came off worse than that, and I spun round. But Shanks was very gracious. He slowed down for me to let me catch up. Then I had to pit with my front wing damage. I've been meaning to send him a text actually, just saying that it's all cool, but like
So cool.
yeah, sometimes when you go for a move, it doesn't come off, and yeah, something goes wrong. But unfortunately, it wasn't caught on camera, so
It's racing
yeah,
though, isn't it?
yeah, that's racing. I mean, we'll both get over it. I have big respect for him. He has big respect for me. We're both very fast. Hopefully, we can both move up to the Super League next year, regardless of what happens tomorrow. At time
Tell you, me and Nai had very similar starts, but very different finishes. Like we both didn't have a great qualifying. Both started down below. We both made up some crazy positions on the first few corners, and then from there it was just completely different.
Yeah.
Well, you had an ex-Natty style finish of a disconnection.
I did, yes. I was really annoyed.
All right, and now on to Gran Turismo Sport. We had round 3, I believe, of the Gran Turismo Sport League in Austria. Unfortunately wasn't able to attend, but something new for you guys. I'm going to hand over to Tiger and ex Natty for this section.
Who wants to, do you want to go on that?
All right, so we had the GT Sport race, round number 3 on Thursday. It was at the Red Bull Ring, and what a race it was! Honestly, it was. I'm going to say it was the best race of the season so far. Even though we had a great race at the Circuit de la Sarthe last week, just that was something else. But how was it from your point of view, Tiger? How was it?
And it pretty much went how I wanted it to. Really, I was sweating and shaking at the end. That ending, if you haven't seen the ending, to just actually go watch the whole race, because the whole race is amazing. But if you haven't seen, especially the ending to that Gran Turismo race, go watch it, because Joe, who's one of my good mates, filled in for Toussaint. And me and him went wheel to wheel through nearly every single corner for the last few laps of that race, and it was a crazy battle. But throughout the whole of the race, I started off. I had a little bit of collision with Jojo Power. And that caused me to make an early stop, and I did actually what I did last week when I had a little bit of a collision with Woody. I actually made an early pit stop, went for the softs. Got myself enough fuel to go round to near the half, 3/4 of the race, and then made another pit stop at the end for a bit more fuel. But I think at the end, I think my tyre advantage definitely helped, because I absolutely, even Natty will tell you, I made up so much time at the end, and I got past quite a few cars to get myself up, and I got my first podium. So I was really happy, and especially that battle as well made me even more happy, because I knew that I had to fight for it, and fight for it to the end. So it was a brilliant race.
So it was an incredible 3-way battle for the last podium, the last lap. It was like almost 3 wide across the line. And
yeah,
wow,
it was stream.
And yeah,
like,
but
Duke said you were a what was it?
An auctioneer.
He did sound like an auctioneer. He actually did.
There was too much happening to even speak over the events that unfolded. But But yeah, we do have to congratulate Duke for picking up his third race win in a row. So Tucson, I think you're second or third in the championship currently.
Yeah.
How do you think have you got a strategy to try and close the gap?
Yeah, I thought I'd let him get, at least 3. Then I come from in the second part of the season.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's very quick. We have good respect on track. We did a nice battle in Le Mans, Circuit de la Sarthe, as you call it. I call it Le Mans. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the battle. Obviously, with the F1 finishing this week, Gran Turismo will have my undivided attention. So I'll be trying to win that, and hopefully I can do it. I'm third now in the championship, I think, because I did not race in the last round. But moving on from a championship that is still going to a championship that is over, in Project Cars 2, the GT3 championship has finished with Dalavan being crowned the champion. So big congratulations to him. You've done very well this year, mate. As moving on
Congratulations.
to congratulations from us here at the podcast team. I'm sure Nati's going to say something as well. Congratulatory in a second.
Yep. Well done.
just a
Good
clap.
performance.
We prepared very well for that. As just a quick highlights reel for you, those of you who didn't watch the race. So pole sitter Lonnie was on pole, but he had a bad start and fell to 6th place at the end of turn 1. Then there were 2 further collisions up through turns 2 and towards Village. I believe it was between an Audi spinning round. And then Alechamps on the first lap lost his spoiler after a collision with Jukebox. Although it looked more of like a racing incident, Jukebox kind of Alechamps kind of turned left coming into, I believe it's not Stowe. Yeah, no, I think it is Stowe. Yeah, and just kind of turned left on the right hander, and Duke didn't expect Duke to be there. Toby then had his own incident, which I thought was a little funny. He does commentate on the Super League races, so I was intrigued to see how he would get on in the GT3 cars. He unfortunately spun off there at the same corner. Then there was a close battle for third early on, with Vectro unfortunately closing the door on one of his rivals and coming off worse. The 2 Bentleys were very close together for much of the race. That's Joe Black and Jukebox, giving us, some very good racing there. And then Lonnie having to fight back through the field. And Cass Nuygens? I don't know. I'm sure he'll be in the comments and correct me. He had an incident and spun off at Luffield Corner. And then Dalavan led the race, I believe, from start to finish and wrapped up the championship. So big congratulations to
Gonna
him.
say we're great with pronunciations. Our pronunciations are fantastic. It's always even me and Evan in the academy would be trying to say someone's name and we'll be like her, and I was like, I'll just go for it. I'll just say it.
It's Bramble Superfix all over again.
Yeah.
The Janetta Leagues and Project Cars 2 Academy Leagues are on break this week, so the only other Project Cars 2 race we have for you this week was in the Ferrari 333 SP race, which was at Brno. Just to clarify, the GT3 race was at Silverstone. Sorry, I didn't say that before. So the Ferrari 333 SP, that is a tongue twister. I really hope we can change that in the future.
It's a real tongue twister.
Yeah, so wrap 12 of 16. At the start, Dr. Fiend had an incident in the first corner, meaning that he spun off the track and dropped to the back of the field. ESR Chef and K Morse went wheel to wheel at the end of lap 2. I believe it was into turn 1. Some very nice battling between those two.
Very
ESR
nice
Chef, definitely very nice racing. If you haven't seen that overtake, this probably should be in the top 10 moments. I'm just saying.
Don't worry. If you want to send a clip in for the top 10 moments, just pop me a message. And just tell me the video and what minute it's in, and I'll put it in for you. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
Right, nice one. And so, Dirty Ed was moving on from that, and then Dirty Ed did seem to be affecting the drivers quite a bit in the Ferrari league. I saw that the drivers kind of were just hovering around that kind of 7/10 barrier. I played Project Cars 2 a little bit myself, not really against other people, but I think Dirty Ed has been modeled into the game, and it was playing up quite a factor for most of the drivers, so it made overtaking quite hard. But Faster underscore A14 picks up another one in the series, and with that done, I believe that is all the Project Cars.
Be interesting if they added that into the F1 game.
I believe if they added it to the F1 game, it would just be there'd be no overtaking really.
Fair point.
Yeah, everyone would just be stuck a second and a half behind each other. make league racing a bit hard. As previously discussed, it is the final week for all 4 of our F1 leagues on F1 2019 before we move on to F1 2020. But we couldn't leave you at the end of this Gavra racing section without talking about the title permutations, if I can get that word out. So the championship gap in the Premier Series is 24 points in mine, Two Saints' favour. I'm going to refer to myself a lot in the third person. And so what Two Saint 0208 needs is to be 8th or above with Shankster first and having the fastest lap, or 9th or above with Shankster in first. And if I'm out of the points and Shankster fails to win the race, then I will win the championship. A note that Shankster must win the championship, must win the race to be in title contention. The only event of a championship tie can be if Shankster finishes first and I finish in 10th position. And that wraps up the permutations for the Premier Series. Moving on to the Freshman League. It is also a two-way fight, as previously discussed, between Holland Campion and Lord Jedi. The championship gap is currently 19 points in Holland Campion's favour. So if you wanted to go and see that championship decider, please tune in on Thursday at 8:30. Holland Campion currently needs, well, he's 19 points ahead. So what he needs in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix is to finish in 6th or above for the championship, and that's even if Lord Jedi wins and has the fastest lap. Uh, Also, championship tie can only occur if Lord Jedi is second with the fastest lap and Holland Campion is out of the points, and Lord Jedi must also finish first in that race to avoid a championship tie. But if you're a Lord Jedi fan, if he does manage to tie up the championship, he will take it by virtue of having more pole positions and at that point in the season more wins as well. Now, the Academy, final one that can be decided this week.
Pope and Mares.
Pope and Mares, the two extremely quick drivers, have a very bright future in Gavra racing if they choose to stay. They're currently a 16-point gap in Mares' favour, so the minimum amount he needs to win the championship is 4th, and that is with Pope winning and taking the fastest lap. Pope must also finish in at least 2nd place to avoid a championship tie. In the event of a tie, Mares will take the championship by virtue of him having more wins. If you'd like to see the full permutations, I will leave a link, hopefully to the PDF, in the description down below. Thank you for listening to that first part. And now we move on to the
The
driver
moment you've
interviews.
all been waiting for.
Yeah, so as you can probably tell by the title, our guest this week is none other than the man who has just won the Super League. Shall we talk to PlayDutchY, everyone?
Let's get him in.
talk to her.
Dutchy, how are you?
I'm good. You surprised me there.
Are you outside at the moment?
I'm in the car driving home from work.
Oh, okay. All right. So, obviously, most people in our community here know who you are, but if you could just tell us a little bit more about yourself, so like where you're from, how did you find Gavra, and how long have you been here? Oh, that's horrible. It's great. Sorry.
Yeah, I think some people already know. I'm from the Netherlands. Nice place, Nijmegen. I'm just 31 years old. I love racing.
All right, nice. He loves racing, everybody. A man of few
Yeah.
words. All right, I'll pass on to you, Natty, for the next question.
So, well, last week we obviously saw you win the Super League World Championship. What emotions were going through your head as you crossed the line?
First of all, feel relieved because you have the championship, and happy that you have won the championship on Gavra. So feel great.
Oh, nice. I mean, obviously, like to wrap up the championship a bit early, that must feel pretty good as well.
Yeah, because if you look at the Premier and the Freshman, they are still fighting for the last race. So
There's some extra
Definitely.
ego points there. As
no, it feels great if you have it. Yeah, of course.
yeah. All right. That was a little dig at me, but here we go, Tiger.
So, PlayDutchY, this year in the Super League at the beginning of the season, it was very close between you and a few other drivers. Who do you think was your greatest rival of the championship this year?
At the beginning of the championship was Nebula, because he won a race, I did, and you still battle for third or second. Yeah, the first few races, he was my rival, and then he couldn't be there anymore. Then, and my teammate Piero, he was close with me sometimes, and also Adam Grin. Sometimes, yeah, the Ferrari boys like Don Rajiv and ESSH. So
I
yeah,
believe,
a couple of boys out there that really good battles with.
oh yeah, I think I substituted for you a couple of times this year, PlayDutchY. I think in the Singapore Grand Prix, ESSH is really on it. I think you watched the stream as well. I think you'd agree he was he was leading a few laps on that race. He's also a fellow commentator. So, what was your take on his performance in Singapore?
Yeah, he really is driving well. Sometimes I think by myself, just move, let me through. But he's good at defenses as well. So
Yeah, definitely. As we've had this question put to us in the Q&A section before, but I wanted to ask you, who's the most talented driver in the freshman league at the moment?
why did you ask that question?
We got asked it in the
Oh,
Q&A, so I just wanted to ask you what your opinion was.
freshman league.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, freshman league is Holland and Shankster. They are battling with each other pretty much, and also going for the championship still.
Yeah, they
those
are.
two. Yeah.
Oh, I think Xatu is looking for a world champion seal of approval there, I think. Unfortunately, denied him that. As
At the freshman league, those two like Shankster and Holland, they do a real good job getting decent points, and also Xnati is quick out there as well.
Thank
But
you.
he sometimes makes little stupid mistakes. So yeah.
That's all I wanted to hear. Thank you.
It's true. Sometimes I send you messages, just box now or just easy, that kind of stuff. Don't listen.
Speaking of which, do you think that it's a bit of a disadvantage for you to put Holland Campion's strategy in the chat like that, or not really?
I had the previous races. But I said he had a box like USA.
Oh, okay. As I'm gonna hand over to. Oh, sorry.
I'd always try to help someone where it's needed.
Yeah. Well, we all try to help each other in the Gavra racing community. We all want to be as close to each other as possible because that usually gives us better racing. Xnati?
Yeah, so after watching some of the other leagues that we also have, are there any other drivers who you think could provide a bit of like a shake-up in the Super League next season?
Yeah, I think, like I said, Holland Campion and Shankster from freshman series. Toussaint, Premier Series. Also, yes, championship contender. I forgot who was second or who you're battling with.
In the Premier Series?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you've got Shankster and Lord Jedi mixed up. Lord Jedi's in the freshman league. Shanks is in the Premier.
Oh yeah, shit. Sorry about that.
There's a PlayDutchY.
I mean, Lord Jedi and Holland Campion from the freshman series and Premier Series. Yeah, Toussaint and Shankster.
All right. Thank you for your opinion on that one. I personally feel very much vindicated from that. So. So the next season of F1 and Gavra Racing will be on 2020. What team will you drive for?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Every team I don't mind, except the Williams because I drive cockpit view and I can't see the little tiny display, so I don't see the tires and that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense then. As I'm going to hand over to you, Tiger, for the next question.
Yes, we've had much new talent coming into the league, especially Mares and Pope, as many with many other drivers. in the who do you think will be the greatest threat to the Super League?
I don't know because the last race that I've seen from Mares, he had a clear race, so he wasn't battling anyone. So I've seen another race from Mares. He's quick, also like Pope, and there's Pepperleg as well. But yeah, Pepperleg is wild. He's quick, but he's wild on the race. He ruins his own race. And Mares did as well. And I think
Unpredictable.
those, I think those boys are. There's so much tension if they coming into battle, so they get nervous and make little mistakes and they cost the race. If they keep cool, then they are quick. Sometimes I have that as well. If I'm like last race in Brazil, I accidentally braked a bit too late, so damaged my wing and touched someone. So yeah, it's my own fault. Stupid me. I had to go back in the pit, and in my mind, I have to go. Damn, I have to go back on the first place. So I push, and if someone just 2 corners, too much in front of me, then I'm getting crazy in my head. Move now, I have to go there. So yeah,
Alright,
I can
well,
make mistakes as well.
yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you've noticed that you said there that Maros isn't really fighting anything, but would in the freshman league anyway, he just kind of pulled away. Would you say that isn't a good virtue for a driver just to be able to pull away like that then?
Of course, if you're driving in first place and you know that you're already like 3 to 5 tenths quicker than someone behind you, that feels great. You're on a rhythm. You're keeping your head cool because you know you're faster. But once he gets closer to you, you always think about shit. Don't make a mistake. And yeah, of course you make a mistake because you think too much. And if you have a clear mind, clear view in front of you, don't want to battle, then yeah, you go for it.
All right, as ex-Natty
So I
for the
think yeah,
as ex-Natty
no,
for
no.
the next question.
So there's never been a double world champion before in the Super League. Do you think that would affect the way you go about your preparation for next season?
No, I still keep doing the same, and yeah, if I can improve, I will try to improve. And I'm definitely going for the double championship.
Well, I mean,
So
I guess it's down to the rest of us to make you improve, I guess. So,
I,
finally, will you? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you had something to say?
yeah, I definitely
Yeah,
hope the boys are all getting in the Super League and we all have like a major battles out there.
yeah,
Get
it
it
should
more
be fun.
exciting for all of us and the viewers.
Yeah, should be fun. As finally, will you ever branch out from F1 and go possibly take a Duke on in the GT Sport or Project Cars 2, or even maybe do a Formula 2 season potentially in the F1 game?
Yeah, the GT Sport, I don't like that game. It feels too arcade for me. I tried it, but yeah, I
No,
can't
fair
do that
enough.
game. It doesn't feel good for me. So, Project Cars, I did it as well, but I don't have too much time. So I just give that up and GT Sport give it up. But if there's like Formula 2, I've been driving those cars a couple of times. It's pretty fun. It's unpredictable as well.
Yeah,
And
definitely would agree with you.
yeah, I don't, yeah, like I said, I don't really have much time to race. So those races, what I do, just 2 hours, maybe
Thank
three
you
hours
from our special
before the race.
guest PlayDutchY. So, if you'd like to be involved in the way that PlayDutchY just was, please message either three of us. We also have a chat in the Discord now as well, which Sig has very nicely put up for us. Thank you very much. As yeah, that's all from PlayDutchY. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you as well, all of you.
And we'll see you on the track, I'm sure, in a little bit. So then, that was the driver interview section done and dusted. Now we're taking a break a little bit from the racing stuff, so just going to come back to that. Replacement drivers in the Gavra Racing League. I think we had a little bit of discussion about this last night on PSN, I believe, guys.
Yeah, we did, and I feel like people have different opinions on the replacement drivers. Obviously, if someone can't make it to a race, then it's good to try and have a full grid for the race. But then I think people are debating over about what points should be given to those drivers and the other drivers who have finished around them, as they can sometimes have an effect in the championship.
Yes, I believe that most of the unrest has been stirred by the dominance of Pope and Mares in the freshman league, which led me to come to a sort of conclusion that maybe we could maybe instead of having the replacement drivers score points that had an effect on that league, what you could do is so the way it works at the moment is replacement drivers score points, albeit reduced points, from from first all the way down to 10th. They score points, but less points than people who usually attend the league do. So what you could do is those people, replacement drivers, still earn those points, but those points are independent of the race. So, i.e., Antelope finished third in the Brazilian Grand Prix. So what you could do is take Antelopen, give him the points for first place. He was first of the people in that league. It would also mean that in the Singapore Grand Prix, when PlayDutchY substituted for, I believe it was Gavra. Yeah, I believe it was Gavra. It meant that Willie Sanka missed out on points because he was the lead Williams in that race and he was in 11th place. So yeah, because it just means that if you have much faster people coming down from one league or coming up from the league below, people who usually are in that league and have made a commitment to that league don't score points. But it's just an idea. If you have any other, points or the suggestions that you have for us at Gavra Racing, please put them in the comments down below or come to the Discord. I don't know what your opinions on it, Tiger, if your mic is working once again.
I'm here now. Yes.
Okay.
I can agree on what you said there about having it independently. I think I saw a lot of. I think people just need to be careful. I saw a lot of people putting some hate on the drivers who won that freshman league race, Pope and Mares, saying it was unfair because they because of the way who they've substituted drivers for. It was unfair on the championship, and yeah, it was, but don't take that win away from them because they had an outstanding race and they deserve all the praise that they got. And the admin team will deal with the points and give her the points out respectively. But I agree. I think definitely those points should be independent to what the points are, and they're just basically wherever the replacement drivers do, just move the grid points in accordance to where they are. So, for example, on the freshmen, as you were saying, Antelopen would have got first position, and it would have actually been down to the top 12 who would have got points, but the top two actually wouldn't have got any. It would have just been from third down to 12
Well,
12 positions. So
well, Mares and Pope would still, with my system, Mares and Pope would still earn points. Those points would go to the drivers they were replacing. That just means that everyone, the points that they have earned are kind of aside from all of the other points. So they do win the race, and that goes down in the stats. But the replacement points that they have gone to that person, but it hasn't affected the championship in another way. With Antelope will have 25 points basically, and he would have still been in the championship fight had he had finished in in second
so
place even.
you're saying that they would get points, but then also the people behind them would get points.
Yeah, they would get the normal.
So you're
points.
saying that Mares would get the 25 points for the win, but Antelopen would also, because if the race was different, he would have actually, if them replacement drivers weren't there, he would have got first place.
Yeah, exactly, and because I think Maris's replacement driver would have only earned 15 points from that race anyway, because that's how the replacement points work. But he would have earned that 15 points for the driver he was replacing, but Anslopen would have earned the full 25, because now actually Anslopen is out of championship contention by 1 point because he finished in third position there. And I know some people might just be saying, well, go faster, but that's not really an excuse when the people who you usually race against in the skill level that you're accustomed to, when you've beaten them, but then two people have come up from the league below or down from the league above and have dominated. It's not really fair to you because you've beat everyone who you're meant to beat in that series. So yeah, I believe that actually brings to an end episode 3 of the Grid Slot Gavra Racing podcast. So if you have liked and enjoyed what we have done around here, please give the video a like. If you have any questions for the Q&A, we didn't do that this week. We only had 4 questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to put those in next week's episode, those questions. So thank you for the people who did send us your questions. If you have any more questions, either put them in the Discord server or down below. Thank you, everybody, for listening.